This episode is sponsored by Launch. Are you an insurance agent that is tired of quoting business to try and find a better premium to win new deals? Are you looking for a way to differentiate and stand out from your competition? Well, look no further than Launch. Launch is an industry-leading software platform that gives you pre-built assessments that you can walk through with your prospect. Launch automatically calculates your prospect's risk score, and this allows you to show your prospect the areas you can fix to negotiate better premium and coverage with underwriters. Offer more value to your clients, turn missed sales into closed business, and most of all, become a better advisor to your clients. Visit getlaunch.io today to get more information on how you can use Launch to win more BORs starting right now. That's getlaunch.io to learn more.
Welcome to the Getting Past the Premium podcast, where we focus on breaking down risk management problems bit by bit until we find a solution. If you would like to discuss anything you hear on GPP with us, please reach out using the links in the description. Enjoy today's episode.
All right, welcome to the show, guys. We got a crew today.
Yeah.
Here with us we've got Jeff Herdzina and Dan Allison again. Welcome back.
Thank you.
This is show 3 for you.
Is it really?
Yeah. This is you're our first guest to have 3 episodes.
I'm sorry. sorry you're having trouble getting guests.
In order to get Jeff, we had to.
Got it.
He got the 3, and then he got to pick a friend.
Yeah.
It's like a companion pass. That's
there you go. Yeah, exactly.
Good to be back.
Absolutely. Well, this will be fun because, and Jeff, I'll have you give your background, what you do every day, because I think this will be a really cool conversation around the value in business, how we can unlock that, and what the role of an advisor can have in that. So you want to just kind of tell everybody what you do every day, who you are, what your background is, and we'll have you too, Dan.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for having me. So I'm Jeff Herdzina. I started a firm 7 years ago. It's crazy. It's been that much time, but it's called ExitBig. And I didn't know anything about M&A, but we help people buy and sell businesses. So we do sell-side advisory, where we're going out and finding a buyer that doesn't know about the business before we call them. Or on the other side, we do buy-side, where we go kind of hunting for people and help them find businesses. And a lot of what we do leading up to that is talking to people about the value of their business, like what it's worth. It's, when I go hang out in Club Lounge or other places and people are like, hey, I got a question for you. What do you think the value, it's an interesting topic because it's one that I believe is there's not enough coaching on it. There's not a lot of information out there. Like, I had a business before I started ExitBig, and no one taught me anything about how to create value in my business. I wish I would have, because I left a lot of money on the table. Mm-hmm. But so a lot of conversations around value, and in particular, we were just talking before, I look at probably 3 to 4 sets of books a week on companies, and I have conversations with people all the time. And there's a general theme that the businesses that have stronger, more regular relationships with their advisors, they're better companies. They're worth more. And I'm actually writing an article currently about this, where, what to do going into a recession, I think is the name of it. And we're basically talking about go get in front of your advisors. Is there a way to restructure some debt with your banker and save some money? Your insurance team, your attorney, your CPA. And so there's a general theme when people have really strong professionals, those are projects we prefer to work on because they're better ran.
I have no idea why you'd be writing an article titled that right now.
I was wondering how you didn't jump in and just say, by the way, it's not going to be a recession.
Yeah.
We're fine. Yeah. We're fine.
I once wrote one that said, are you scared to sell your business? So I try to come up with titles that get people like, really? What's this dude? No.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and it is, regardless of speculating on timing, the principles probably apply regardless of whether there's a recession coming up or not, right? Like in good times or bad, what you're talking about is probably true.
Yeah.
I'm curious your perspective too, Dan, because you've been on both sides of the aisle when it comes to buying and selling businesses. Would you agree with that sentiment that Jeff kind of talked about from having a solid team of advisors and relating that to the value of the business?
Yeah, completely. I've had, in my 20s, I had a pretty good-sized liquidation event started and sold. Then I bought, thinking everything I touched would turn to gold, and almost went bankrupt. Then I bought again and sold big again. So I've seen, if the topic was how to succeed, I could talk on that, and how to fail, I can talk on that. But the commonality was the second company that I bought into, I assumed they had everything buttoned up, and I didn't look enough under the hood. I looked at the books and things like that, but didn't really look at things like, are these key people that generate all the revenue for the company? Are they, do we have handcuffs on these people so they want to stay? We incentivize them to stay. If one of them dies, do we have the right kind of insurance on? And now when I look at an asset, those are the most important questions. It's like, it's a good industry, there's demand for whatever product or service, that's awesome. But to be able to look at, do the people who run the thing have it all buttoned up? Are they willing to pay for good advice before they need the advice? Proactive instead of reactive. Mm-hmm. And I made that mistake once and it almost cost me everything. So yeah, I totally agree with what Jeff said.
Yeah. And I would go one step farther than that and saying, when they get to the point where they're going to look at exiting their business, when I see a solid professional team around them, when I go into a deal, there's a lot better chance that we're going to get to the finish line than not. So, if they don't have a team and they're asking me for some I refer a lot of legal work out, CPA work, but always helps to have a really strong professional team.
Yeah, I mean, this conversation's so interesting today because it gets to the heart of, we come at this from the risk management perspective and all around getting past a premium. You take, an agent or an advisor on the risk side and, how can they enhance their value proposition to a client? And there's nothing better than being able to articulate it in a fashion where you can increase the value of the company. Right? Like, how about changing the dynamic in that conversation? You go in from, oh shit, it's going to, business owner, it's going to cost you another X amount of dollars to buy this insurance policy on your key man. Or you need to spend $50,000 in legal to get your contracts buttoned up. But how that translates into value, depending on their goals and how they're going to monetize the company over time, like, that's a differentiator.
Yep.
So, Jeff, from your perspective, I mean, give us a couple examples that you've ran across over the last, year or two about having a good advisory team around a business owner and how that's translated into more value.
I'm working on a project right now. It'll have to be vague for obvious reasons, but it's a niche construction business, and it has a lot of projects and a lot of work in progress. And 5 days after the end of the month, their WIP schedule is all figured out. So in a transaction, when you get down to the end and you're figuring out who gets what, that's almost forensic accounting of a guy like me.
Yeah.
There's some CPAs out there that do a nice job of recognizing that the business owner is too involved in the business. Mm-hmm. And this was me. This was the mistake I made in my former company. And just to give them some coaching on delegating and how many hours are you working and what happens if you get hit by the bus, and just to get them kind of thinking. Because when I meet, here's probably a good example. I met a guy. Really nice business, and he was passive. I asked him, I remember asking him, what do you do? And most don't always answer honestly. He said, I get in QuickBooks and look at the financials, and when we need to buy something of size, I like to go buy and negotiate. But other than that, I just look at the financials and everything's cruising. And I said, high five, great job.
Yeah.
And
most people think they're doing a bad job.
Yeah. And I said, thank you, because this was a company that did between 10 to 20 million in sales, and it was a sizable deal for me to work on. And when you go look for buyers, that's the first thing that they're going to look at is, okay, the owner's going to exit most likely. What happens when they exit? And if it's the company's going to, fall apart and all the sales are going to go away and all the key relationships are going to dissolve, then buyers are, hitting the road.
Yep.
So that's an example where I think in this case, the CPA had kind of worked with this guy over time and his attorney to do so. I worked on another project that had lots of things documented, processes. Here, you want to know how to, run the HR division. Here you go. Here's the whole book. So a guy like me could probably follow the book and run it. A lot of companies don't have their processes documented. I'm trying to think of some examples from the insurance standpoint.
I want to dovetail on something he said, though, because I've coached business owners for almost 20 years now. And it's funny, when I do my interview at the beginning, I can't tell you how many dudes are like, I work harder than anybody, first one to show up, last one to leave. It's like, you shouldn't brag about like that.
Yeah.
That means you're the asset.
Yeah.
What you're trying to build is the asset. Otherwise, you don't have an exit strategy at some
There's
point,
no way to
unless
sell
they
that.
buy you, in which place you become an employee that doesn't get any of the benefits of owning the business. So it's like, how do you recreate your passion and surround yourself with people so you are the guy that's like, I go golfing 3 days a week. I look at the books, make sure everything's going good. But it's almost like our culture idolizes the guy who's like, I work 16 hours a day and 6 days a week. It's like, no, that's bad. You own a job. You don't own a business. Otherwise, you shouldn't have to work like that.
Yeah.
You've said
a lot
it
of times it's a
before.
Midwest thing.
Yeah, you've said
true.
it before on running it from an iPad or something like that. I've heard you say, like, you should run your business, or you should be able to run your business from an iPad on a beach. And you were making a point of, like, I know that that's like the whole thing of, like, that's not our culture of, like, work hard. It's like, no, that's how you should be building a business, so that, not that you would, but that you could, because that's how somebody's going to look at it, is they want to run it from an iPad from wherever they're going to buy it from.
Yeah.
We think about, there's two angles there too. It's number one, if anything ever happens to me and I'm the absolute rainmaker that the company depends on, I'm not doing a great job for my staff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I need to replace me.
They're at risk.
They're at risk. Then if I sell, which I just did in November, if I got kicked out of the company afterwards, I'm on an employment contract or whatever, if they decide we don't want you, well, now you have 25 people going, shit, he's the guy that made it all happen. Like, you've got to work to get to that point. But I think communicating that to your staff too is important. To say, this is healthy for you not to see me all day, every day sitting in the office. I'm building something that can run so we're all secure, we all have good jobs, we can keep growing. Like, they got to understand that.
The other thing that I see, I completely agree. The other thing that I see, just going back to, our culture in the Midwest, I think that's a huge deal, is, like, family-run business, and they're there all the time and working harder and leading by example and all that stuff, which is all, like, generally very positive stuff. But, it can be such a hindrance too when you're turning around and looking to monopolize and capitalize on the value inside the company. I forgot what the heck I was going to say.
You did that the last time I was on.
Yeah.
You went on this long diatribe and then forgot your point.
Yeah, a stroke.
Yeah.
Wild stroke.
Just a mild one.
It's going to come back to me.
But
We'll just wait awkwardly until
Yeah,
They can
just
edit
let
all
the
this
time go. No.
What were you going to say, Jeff?
Yeah.
I'll cover for you. I wholeheartedly agree. It's a Midwest thing generally, right? I lived in Southern California for some time, and they're not working that hard out there. But a lot of them are making a ton of money,
Right.
so they're doing something.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm working on another project right now that I was a little concerned that the owner was too involved in the business. Great dude, when I put him in front of buyers, he's someone that, they're going to like and they're going to trust, kind of that Midwest thing. But, I asked him one time, how many hours a week do you work? And he said 70, and I spit my water out on purpose. What? And we're still currently listing his business, but one of the things I've been coaching him on, and this is kind of to our professional point, is, hey, the less you do, the more your business is worth. So who on your team is dying to get more responsibility and you can delegate stuff. And I know you're a terrible delegator, but he found a couple people he's delegating. He's been home for some dinners, and he called me up one time and he said, Jeff, I went home for dinner. My wife said, what are you doing here? And I said, high five, brother. So, it's little things like that are where us professionals can make a big, huge impact in, these clients' businesses and, creating value, because in the little businesses that I sell, like this, in most cases, is their retirement. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And if there's nothing to sell at the end of the time, then I'm not sure what happens. The lights go off.
They don't build it with the end in mind.
Right.
They build it with trying to provide a lifestyle and to take income out of it. They don't think about how to monetize it later on. Yeah. But I remembered what I was going to say. So
good cover.
Yeah.
I got your back.
And we're out of time.
We are about out of
up, Big Al.
We are about out of tequila old fashions. The other thing culturally, I think, is that there's a vein in a business owner's body that they don't want to talk about how they're going to monetize a company. It's taboo to talk about, and you get to discussing this with somebody who's 63, 64. I don't know if you run across this at all, and they're like, okay, I'm going to send you my financials and stuff, but I don't want you to tell anybody. Mm-hmm. Don't talk to anybody about me selling, or I don't want anybody to find out. And it's like, but dude, look in the mirror, your hair's gray. You're 66 years old. Yeah. You're not going to work forever. And everyone already knows that. You're better off communicating that, but it's just the topic's so taboo that you don't start talking about it until oftentimes it's too late.
Yeah. I think that's actually going to change. So that's been my experience in the M&A space. It's hush-hush, nobody knows. I bet I've worked on 1 or 2 projects that the management team knew. But otherwise, it's just total, I don't want anyone to know. And, we're good at being top secret behind the scenes. But what I think is going to happen as more coaching and education gets out there about how to create value, and just, is they're going to get the team involved, and they're going to say, Dan, I'm 50 years old, 5 years I want to sell this thing. Here's what we need to do. I got to work myself out of a job. I need you to step up. If you want to get, and get the team involved in the other, versus this kind of, it's so top secret. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's going to change. And that with the professionals kind of talking to their clients now, and they're all going to get this same information, that there's going to be more planning, and that planning is just going to involve their team. Mm-hmm. In a lot of cases, like I said, I sell businesses to outside people who don't know, but a lot of the business change hands internally. Mm-hmm. And that's where the communication can happen. They're bringing in people that help the business get to certain cash flow so they can do maybe an ESOP or sell it to key members of management. Yeah. So I think that's going to change.
And to me, at the end of the day, the real concern that any employee has is, what does it mean for me?
Yeah.
So I think that transparency of saying that, hey, I'm looking at a 5-year plan, and here's why I'm working with you guys, because I want you guys buttoned up. Yeah. I want your futures to be secure. Mm-hmm. Let's build it together. I mean, let them in on the secret. I think it's okay. It's amazing how many business owners, I always reference most people's retirement, you brought up, is 401k or whatever. Could you imagine having a 401k where you never knew the balance and had no idea how to get the money out? Right. That's what business owners do every single day. It's so their true. Retirement, they're like, what's it worth? Like, I don't know. Yeah. How are you going to get the money out? I don't know. It's like, well, that's where professionals, I think. And then.
So would you invest in that? No, never.
No. Yeah, exactly. You would never do that. But then when you look at, okay, let's button that up. Now we have a plan. That's where, to me, risk management comes into play. You got to plan for what if our plan doesn't go right, right? And I think I said on one of our podcasts, my first company, we started it with $10,000. It was me and my partner, and we, 5 years later, we had 500 employees, and it was a $20 million company. And our buy-sell agreement read that if he died or I died, we each had $200,000 of life insurance. So we were going to be $9.8 million short of cash to buy out the other family. And he is dead now. He died. Thank God after we sold the company. But it's like we were great at mental health. We didn't know what to do with planning. And we had great legal and CPA. We didn't have good risk management. Nobody was prepared for what if he got disabled? What if I got disabled? We were taking enormous risk every day, building this giant 401k plan, right, that was going to pay out someday. And every day took risk that we absolutely should not have been taken, but nobody said. I think everybody's so scared to be salespeople, they fail to give advice.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, our job is to point out risk that you're taking that could derail every dream you have. So I'm point out risk, propose solutions. You say go to hell, that's cool. But we got to do our job. And I don't think enough people in your side of the industry do a good job of that.
Well, it goes to the heart of what we talk about every episode on this podcast is it's shifting the mentality of our industry, right? I mean, even if we're selling an insurance product, we've got to understand that it's more than a premium and a coverage, right? Because and Jeff, you could probably talk this, the more de-risked an organization is, the less risk that exists in an organization, the more value there is to that business, to that organization. And so it's just incumbent upon us to realize that these business owners need our advice. They need us to not feel like a salesperson, and they need us to point out the fact that their buy-sell hasn't been updated in this many years, or they don't have cyber liability coverage. And as in the reverse of that is saying, hey, cyber liability coverage is going to cost you $5,000 a year, Dan. Are you is that something you want to do? And you're like, no, it's $5,000. But if I can flip that to show you the value of having a $5,000 cyber liability policy into preventing your company from being shut down for 90 or 180 days or whatever, and then all of a sudden, there's value there, and we have to be shifting our perspective.
I just got my Range Rover back after 5 months. After smoking a deer at 80 miles an hour, right? $36,000 of damage. I paid $500.
Yep.
I didn't for one second think that damn insurance agent sold me a policy. I was like, thank God I had that in place. But I think when it comes to home and auto, we just accept that you gotta have that.
Yep.
And when it comes to things that aren't forced upon you, I think a lot of business owners, and we're in the business planning business, They are making uninformed choices to take enormous risk while they're working their ass off to build this asset. And it's like somebody's got to stop those people and say, look, we got to point out the things you're doing that could be terrible. We just had a car wash out west here. 2 lawyers owned the thing, left law. They got sick of being litigators and opened this awesome car wash. And I got to know them when I would go in. And one of the owners, 4th of July party, was carrying food down the steps, slipped, fell, hit his head, was in a coma for forever, and will never recover completely at all. And it's like, so now you got a family who was relying on that income. You got a partner who was used to having the other partner there all the time that's now got to replace that person. It's like, tell me you had disability coverage in place.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that one. The dude's never going to have any cognitive memory.
Right. And it's something that's simple.
And the other partner wasn't the operator, and so wasn't intended to be
right.
the operator.
Yeah,
So
and then he's forced into that role. That kind
down.
of thing happens just all the time.
I think part of it, going back to your analogy, I still keep thinking about that with the 401k and, what if you didn't know how much was in it, and what if you didn't know how to get it out? What if the value of your business was posted like an index fund on CNBC every day?
Right.
It would change your perspective. If a guy came in and sat down and said, listen, if you bought these it becomes a value conversation then, which we try to do that now. It's like, that's why people buy Range Rovers, is because there's value there.
Right.
Otherwise, they wouldn't sell it.
Yep.
And so the same thing, we sit down and we sell a key, person policy. That value of that company, there's nothing that triggers in that business owner's mind that's like, oh shit, this just increased my value by 10% today.
Would you ever buy a car if they're a brand new $100,000 car? If you're like, well, so what assurances do I have that it'll work? They're like, none.
Yeah.
We didn't take any precaution. I mean, the warranty is important. The what ifs are important, but business owners don't think like that. They are so laser focused on, I'm incredible at manufacturing or construction or whatever. For us, it was mental health. we're experts at that, and we operate at a 6th grade level in everything else.
Is it the business owners or is it the way that the risk management industry sells products?
It's both. To me, it's completely both.
Yeah.
It's the people who sell risk management products assume that because they're really successful business owners, they probably got it figured out. And I don't want to come off as selling them something. So I'm just going to, hey, it's on our brochure, it's on our website that we provide that. It's like, no, you need to be sitting down with them and communicating.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that happens enough.
To answer your question, Ryan, I would say I can speak for the business owners. I mean, there's business owners with blinders on, and they're saying, why would I want to spend $5 extra? Like, do you even understand what that $5,000 is going to get you? And a lot of times the answer is no. So they're just. This is where I think, and I do this, and I think just the professional environment in general should build relationships with clients, ask for permission to speak on their expertise with that client up front, and when it comes up, say, bring it to the table, and just say, Ryan, listen, I'm almost going to be offended if you don't sign up for this policy, for this reason.
Mm-hmm.
Or document that, look, my responsibility is to be a fiduciary to you and think of you first. And you're taking these risks. Here's what would solve the risk. If you're comfortable, I'd like you to document that. So should the risk ever occur, I can feel okay that I did, because your family's going to be the ones coming to me. Your business partner's going to be coming to me. Your advisors are going. And I don't want to be the one, I was scared to talk about it. It's like, talk about it.
It's funny, like the DOL is now enforcing the new fiduciary rollover rules, where, we've had to explain to clients why rolling over their 401k to another.
Thanks for that. I appreciate that.
Hey,
I'm going to get wasted. Oh, yeah. Actually, I do appreciate that.
I split it with you, Dave.
Sorry. The DOL.
If you're listening to the audio, we had to get another round of drinks. So you're not watching the video.
Sorry.
Squirrel. Yeah.
So anyway, we've always had, but now we have to lay it all out and, go over, there's certain topics that we got to look at. Fees, other factors, like could the client get better planning advice if it was rolled over and the advisor was managing those assets, and investment options, and could that play into their plan better? And we've got to document all of that. And now then we got to put that back in front of the client and have them sign off on why they're doing what they're doing. And think about just that approach from the risk management side.
Right.
I don't know how to, this is going on record, so I don't know how to say this, rolling over somebody's 401k is probably not life altering.
Right.
I mean, it could have a negative impact depending on who you're rolling it over to. But it's not like your spouse just died or your business partner just died. And when you're on that side of the business, it's like, who gives a shit?
Right.
It's like, the guy told me to piss off because, he was busy today. And so we're going back to our office and talk to you later.
I think there's a lot of factors that go into it, though. I mean, you mentioned it, like the stable insurance products everybody has to buy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the ones that all the business owners know. They're used to it. I got to buy work comp. I got to buy, coverage on my building because my bank's making me do it. I got to have general liability. I got to have auto insurance because the state makes me do it. So, that's where all the focus goes. And those are very important. But at the end of the day, I think it's easy for the advisor or the salesperson to just get in the mode of selling those that are required or that are easy. When in reality, it's the more important stuff that we're not having the conversations about that could literally put a company under, or in this value conversation, cost them way more value than a missed exclusion on a general liability policy or whatever, because at the end of the day, they cover 95% of the stuff that's going to happen.
I've said 1,000,000 times. So think about, for my company, I'm kind of the rainmaker for revenue, right? So my auto is insured, and I smoke the deer going 80, and I die. The insurance company is going to give my family a check for a new car. what did that do to everybody around me, all my staff, my business partners, it's the life that was lost.
Our podcast.
Yeah, your podcast would be a disaster. Yeah.
I'll fill in if you want.
Oh, okay. Well, I think the value just
ratings
went
just
up.
went up.
You're going to have 4 appearances. Now you think about it, how silly it is that it's uncomfortable to talk about that.
Yeah.
But yet it happens every single day to people, and then you do a GoFundMe, and then people raise $50,000, which is nice, but didn't help any. It's that kind of stuff that drives me freaking crazy.
Yeah.
I was going to say this earlier, but talk about an obvious conversation that doesn't happen in passing your business down to your kids. This happens a lot. Business, it's a multi-generation business, and, dad and mom own the business, and of course they have 3 kids, and they assume one of the 3 kids is certainly going to take over the business. They never talk about it. The 3 kids see the parents living this lifestyle of, oh gosh, how are we going to put gifts under the tree? And the stress that comes with owning a business, and say, I don't want anything to do with that.
No
I'm going to go be a teacher. Right? I'm going to go be a lawyer. I'm going to go do something else other than whatever this is.
Mm-hmm.
And they never have that conversation. And then parents are now 65 to 70, and you got an antiquated business model, and they go to Billy and the kids and say, hey, you're going to take over the biz. And Billy's like, see it, Dad, I'm out.
Yeah.
And there's no conversation that happens. And I see that all the time. And in a lot of cases, unfortunately, those businesses kind of get antiquated, and they get over the hill, and they start declining in value. And a lot of times, people are like, I'm not going to buy something on the way down.
Right.
That's like a lot of work to get it going back up. And so, that's one that, maybe there's some listeners out there that can, that hits home with.
Just have the
Go have
conversation.
that conversation and say, hey, are you planning to work in the family business after college? It's a simple question.
Yeah.
Well,
What we're talking about is pretty simple, but people just don't do it.
68% of the businesses, maybe it's higher, 68% of the businesses in Nebraska want to perpetuate their company internally to keep people or family
Want
members.
to, not necessarily have a plan to.
Correct.
75% of all statistics are made up.
100%
That was
over
clever.
here.
No, but you think about that. That's what I see all the time. Is I'm going to sell to my employees. It's like, cool. Who's got a $5 million checkbook? Oh no, they're going to buy it out over 20 years. It's like, oh my God, I can't tell you how many times 74-year-old is now back in the business because they couldn't get bought out by the people that after 5 years.
52-year-old couldn't see himself work until 72 until he doesn't have a payment anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's a different strategy, though, too, isn't it? I mean, because you see it on the buy-sell side. If you're going to perpetuate it internally, you operate the business much differently than you otherwise would if you're going to exit the business. Because for some things, I mean, yes, you want to still delegate, you still want to do all of those same things, but as far as how you're going to value it, how much cash you want to have available, because you want to have dividends that you can take out to help those folks fund you and do that over a period of time. And without that well thought out, it's much different. If you're pulling all the cash out of the company and you're not reinvesting in those people that can buy you out and all those things over the course of a long period, it's just not going to happen.
Right.
You're going to be in there for 20 years trying to do that when you otherwise wanted to be on a boat somewhere retired.
One of my colleagues who does what I do, literally, that just happened to him. Sold the company to his son. Son's paying him over 10 years. After 3 years, he bought a house in Florida, bought a boat, enjoying every day on the ocean with his wife. 3 years later, Dad, I can't pay you. Company's not doing well. You're not involved anymore, which he shouldn't be. He should be on the boat in Florida. And now he's back trying to salvage.
Oh, gosh.
He's pulling the airplane handles up, trying to get it out of a nosedive when he should be on the boat in Florida.
That's what his life is dependent upon.
Yeah.
His retirement's dependent upon.
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
You can look at all these conversations, too, from the standpoint of, we could call it whatever we want. De-risking the business, protecting the business, creating more value. It's all one conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I love where, we always get into this discussion about changing the perspective as a salesperson to more of that advisor. Whether you're legally obligated to do it or not doesn't matter. If you can truly look at, I need to have this hard conversation with this business owner because if I don't, they're not going to get the advice they need. I think that's the biggest thing because if you don't believe that what you do is important and valuable to your client, you should probably be doing something else.
Exactly.
Right? I think that's the biggest thing, because you're going to have that hard conversation when you need to.
Well, and like Jeff, you said before we rolled tape, that you have to talk all the time with the guy that thinks it's worth $5 million. You got to be like, no, bro.
Yeah.
We're talking 2.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, what if he's building a lifestyle based on 5?
Yeah,
That's what he thinks.
When he submits for bank loans, he puts the value in his head. It's really worth that. It's like, your baby's ugly.
Probably because he has $5 million of equipment.
He's been telling he's
Exactly.
been telling his financial planner that for the last 10 years, and the financial planner's taking him at his word.
Yes.
And that's why, there's some software valuation tools out there that, if you're a business owner and you haven't had a valuation done in 5 years, do yourself a favor, go get one.
Completely.
It's
Well, there's-
worth the investment, right? And
You can get some simple ones done, right? Through
Oh, yeah.
even some
Absolutely.
Yeah,
resources
there's
you
a
have,
bunch
right?
of different there's
Yeah.
software, there's different insurance companies that'll do it for you. Like how you would
Local
have
CPA firms will do a light evaluation and just tell you whether you're full of shit or not for $1,000.
and I'd rather know that I'm full of shit now than in 10 years when I have to retire on
Exactly.
that. Like I don't get why people don't do it every few years.
Or you can call me and tell me your sales and I'll figure out your EBITDA and I'll give you a ballpark, on the house.
Yeah.
And just like it's such a common mistake that it just breaks my heart when I see it. And then the 5, he thinks it's $5 million and it's really $1.5 million, and then it's kind of a dying business, and they get $1 million and then it's pays off all the debt and there's nothing left, and then the guy's 75 and that's what he's got for the rest of his life.
Yep.
Like that's no way to
Unemployable at that point, really.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Well, people, like it's different. I'm working on a deal right now where the operating company in this business is about $250,000 or so, but they own their own real estate and they're not paying themselves rent. And so you go to value that and you want to normalize it.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, you got to pay fair market rent. Like, what's your plan for the real estate? We were going to, maybe hold on to the real estate because we feel like that's a pretty good investment and we just want to sell the operating company. And it's like, well, okay. So that operating company is now going to have to spend about $150,000 a year in rent.
That you're not figuring into your number.
So the number that you thought the company was worth on a $250,000, $300,000 profit number rolling into the multiples in their industry versus $50,000 in profit, it's a little different. Yeah. So it boils back to like, well, the real estate's really the only investment.
Yeah.
Now you have to sell it. And then you got to deal with this freaking operating company. And it's just like there's so many little traps that people fall into and they have no idea.
The simple solution, though, Ryan, is talk to your professionals.
100%.
Yeah. Get in the game. Yeah. Well, I think business owners also, I don't think they really all understand what add backs are in a sale of a company. So they're looking at EBITDA or revenues and multiples. And it's like, I also believe that you should know exactly what you cost your own company and lifestyle. Yeah. Because there's plenty of, you see it all the time.
Yeah.
I've done it my whole life.
Oh, yeah.
Taking advantage of owning a business. And I run all the cars through there and all the stuff. And the day I sell, that's all going to the bottom line for that company.
Yeah.
So that's where that valuation, I think, is important to understand. But most owners, in our transaction I had in November, owner didn't know within hundreds of thousands a year
of what
they were actually pulling out of the company.
Yeah.
Now apply a multiple of, for us it was like 9 or 10.
It's a lot of money.
Millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, had no clue. So how do you go into negotiations and selling when you don't even know that?
You go do what Jeff said. You get a freaking team of people around you.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the takeaway, and have let's kind of wrap up on this. Like from your guys' perspective, how would you start to build a team? If you're a business owner and you're sitting there and your CPA he's just as old as you are, most likely. The antiquated model, like, how do you assess your team, and then how do you start to piece together a team that could help you win? Like, from your guys' experience, how would you go do that?
Well, I think, generally what I see is business owners will have 4 or 5 professionals that they lean on. There's long-term relationships there, which, I'm a big fan of long-term relationships. Ask each one of them, hey, this is my CPA. Talk to your lawyer and your banker about your CPA. Talk to your banker with your lawyer and another advisor, and get their perspective. So if your CPA is aging, not helping, and not being proactive, then get some names of some people to go talk to. So you can talk to your other professionals. The other thing I think you need, generally when I look for a deal team and a business that has solid professionals, they have a solid insurance contact. They have a lawyer that is handling a lot of their stuff, contracts and just different stuff that comes up. You got CPA, you got banker. Who am I missing?
Financial advisor.
A financial advisor. Those 5. Those are probably the 5 that. And I would, just if you're not comfortable or you're not sure if you are a good fit with your advisors, you're probably not.
Yeah,
right?
I was gonna say
and go talk to some other people. I talk to people all the time. Like, we're not a fit for everyone, and vice versa. So go talk to people, figure out where it is, because the businesses that I see that have strong relationships with their advisors, they are worth the most. And
and budget a little bit of money once a year to sit down and pay those people just for a planning meeting together.
Yeah.
To say, here's where the company's at,
totally
here's where the
agree with that.
financials are at, what risks are we taking,
That's a great
what
point.
opportunities are we missing, what's going on with tax code that we're missing out on. Like, just pay a advisory board of those people every year to tear apart your company.
Yeah, that's a good.
And the beautiful thing about people listening to this show too is that we're one of the only folks in that circle that doesn't charge by the hour.
Right.
So get the point of being the quarterback with your clients. Hey, you don't have to pay me by the hour. This is beautiful.
Yeah, let me coordinate it
the
and
people.
roll.
Yeah. I mean, you can become the center very quickly. And I think that's just super important. And I think you can change the ballgame.
Or increase your value and charge a fee.
Well, there you go. That would work. Are you going to charge that by the hour? Well, there you go. See.
Retainer, annual.
There you go.
Well, guys, that was fun.
Yeah.
I think that's a good one. I hope
Thanks for coming in.
took a lot out of it. Yeah.
That was fun.
You ran us out of tequila.
We didn't drink the whole bottle.
Oh, is it BYOT next time? Bring my own tequila.
Yeah, that would be good.
That was the original idea.
Well, if I'm going to be on 3 times, I think it's fair that I bring a bottle.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
well,
just
that's
rude of me
true.
at this point.
Yeah, good point.
It'd be 4 next time. So
I know.
A bottle plus something.
Two bottles.
Erica made us a drink.
Airplane. Oh, she did.
Sorry.
Just make sure that it's not the wrong brand. Just kidding.
All right. Well, we will
Thanks,
wrap up
Joe.
with that.
Thanks for having me on.
Inside
Yeah.
joke. Yeah, Jeff. Thanks for coming in.
See you again.
So we'll
Good
do
chat. See ya.
All right.
Thank you for tuning in to Getting Past the Premium. We are excited to continue breaking down barriers and finding solutions together. If you would like to reach out regarding anything you heard in today's episode, find links and contact info in the description. Until next time, have a great day, and let's continue getting past the premium.